Want my latest market insights? My latest report, Trend Long AST Mobile Option Update plus 60,000%. Good enough is now available. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description. Another one was, I already answered the question about China. Yes, very bullish. Alibaba and Baidu have already run. They can go sideways. We still have the threat of headline risk. JD hasn't even triggered yet. Jeffrey researched this for months. He's so fundamentally bullish on JD. It hasn't moved, technically speaking. I will tell you, if you check out the January $40 calls, JD right now is about 35. It vacillates. It was a great, don't let it go below 29, something's wrong. But basically, this 30 to 35 range, it's been ping pong, ping pong. It has over 400,000 $40 January calls. They just keep hitting it every single day.
Ooh, that's interesting. People buying, Samantha? Or yeah,
yes,
I guess they're buying.
Yeah,
what month is that?
And I'm tracking it because I have a high conviction on this, right? So anyway.
January? You were saying January, I think?
January, $40 calls. They're just peppering this thing for months. And I've been tracking this for months, as clients know. So anyway, long story short, it hasn't triggered yet, but yes, I'm still very bullish.
Well, look at that. Perfect example, Samantha, of what I was talking about. So they just, that vol just came down and down and down and down for about 6 months. And then in the last month has just the option pricing. And we're talking about 1 year options. These are not things that tend to move very quickly. The tail of the dog is the the front end where everybody likes to play. And that's where you get the move. So that tends to react more quickly. I'm looking at 1 year options that have just absolutely soared into what's going on. So there's part of that is what's happening in some other ones like the Baba. So that's going to sort of bleed into JD because now people have figured this is going to happen as well, which it could. And then part of that is, I think, which I talked about a long time ago, I said, I think the realization that we're coming into a big question mark kind of market. Like, I don't know, what should things be worth in this new AI world? We don't know who's going to win, who isn't going to win, how's it going to play out? So that uncertainty has to also play in. You cannot have longer term vols trading at super multi-year lows with that happening. And I said, if I ran a vol fund, I would be all over these long-term vols. And here we go. Boom, they've come back. So now we're starting to reflect a little bit more of what's going out there. So it gets a little bit trickier, but that's interesting that they're buying those. That's gone. The option IV has gone from about 37 to 48. That is a big move.
And it hasn't moved. Price has not moved. Trust me, I know this guy.
Wow.
So how would you play this coming in, knowing that this is massive? How would you play this if you were just coming in now, given where it is positioned?
It would be tough for me to buy those options out that far, just because if things do reset and calm down, you have that Vega risk. So there's just, by doing nothing, they may just reset lower. So you have a little bit of that risk there. Probably play something a little bit shorter term. If I really felt like this was going to go, maybe do like an upside call spread, maybe like a butterfly. So I would go on JD, I would go in and I'd say, okay, look, the vol's high here. So we can't do things the old simple way. We're not just going to go out and buy a bunch of calls. But what I would do is I'd say, okay, there's a little catch-up trade here. Potentially, would I go November? Yeah, you could go November, but let's say we went December. You could do something like it's trading at 36 bucks. So you could do a 39, 45, 46. That's a little tight.
What month are you in?
Looking at December. Maybe like a 39. So when I do my directional flies, I don't like to just kind of have the traditional butterfly, because if it sort of blows through there, then I won't make money. We've talked about that many times. It's always frustrating when you're right on direction, but you don't make any money. So I will always pay a little more to break the wing. What that means is you don't have the strikes equidistant from the thorax, the middle of the fly, of the butterfly. If we want to get anatomically correct about the butterfly, we sort of bring that upper strike a little bit closer. And that gives us the ability that if JD does want to go to 170 suddenly, I'm looking at the wrong stock. If it wants to go to 50, if it wants to go to 170, you'll still make money, but you'll still be upset because you won't make as much as you feel like you should have.
So the last time it took 2 weeks for JD to go from 29 to 48.
Well, that's why this market is interesting to me still, Samantha. And I think I'd like a pullback now and then as much as the next guy, because I think then that sets us up for the next one. But what I'm looking for now is the options that are a little bit cheap. So I found that Micron was like that. I found that Google was like that at one point. And so where the market just kind of decides that, look, this thing is just worth, this valuation is incorrect. And we have a new realization that it should be worth this much now. And that's where you see that some of those options are not, I mean, you have to be right on it, but they're not exactly correctly priced. So you want to look for things that can really, so that's really kind of the fun part of this market, is going to be looking for these potential opportunities, because like an Oklo, like it or hate it, it went from $70 to 140 like that. You had a stock that doubled. Now,
or soon, right? SoundHound is another one of my recommendations. I love this one. It has a 33% or ish short interest. It's definitely an AI middle player in software. And I did a whole review, a deep dive into 6 of them, including a Palantir. And this was still my favorite one. When that flew last October, it went from $6 to $25. And it took a few more weeks than JD, but the point is, when it flies higher
when they
than
go. When they
kite.
go, yeah. ASTS was another one of yours, the ASTS.
I'm still in that. I think that's a phenomenal long term. And in fact, when I recommended that, it didn't even have leaps above $50, $55 strikes. Now it's got $90 strikes all the way out into 2028. So because it's finding a market. The option depth is getting much deeper. And that's what also happens when they get discovered.
Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description. Watch the full Options Macro to Micro Power Hour episode by clicking on the video here, and subscribe to LaDucTrading YouTube channel for more content.